Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over some pretty big updates for the used car market. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So Cox Automotive just posted additional data on what happened in the used car market during the sales month of March this year, and it's pretty interesting. So by the end of the month, there was just over 2 million used vehicles for sale at dealerships. That represents a 40-day supply. They had an average listing price of just over $26,000, and the average mileage on a used vehicle was just over 71,000 miles. Now, the supply of used vehicles, as Cox Automotive states, is the lowest that they have seen since back in 2019. And so this shows that the used car market is continuing to tighten with supply. And again, that's represented in the overall amount of used cars available and then also the day supply as well. Now, the thing that I find fascinating is that sales throughout March with used cars didn't really increase from February. Like, it was slightly more, but compared to what we see historically in March, it wasn't the big bump that is usually expected because, again, the spring selling season kind of started a little bit earlier this year. And so sales were kind of flat throughout March. However, pricing was not. So at the beginning of March, pricing was actually on the decline on the retail side of things. But on the wholesale side of things, pricing was increasing at the beginning of the month. I know that that might sound confusing, but at the end of the month, it flip-flopped where wholesale pricing started coming down at the end of March, whereas retail pricing slightly ticked upwards a little bit. Again, retail prices always lag behind wholesale prices on the used market. And so what this means is that the used market's still trying to kind of figure itself out exactly what's happening, when it comes to price and, obviously overall volume of cars. Now, something else that I find fascinating is the amount of cars available within each segment as stated in this report. So cars that are under $10,000 have a 29-day supply, $10,000 to $15,000, 34-day supply, $15,000 to $20,000, 37-day supply, $20,000 to $35,000 range, 41-day supply and above $35,000 had a 50-day supply. And so just like the new car market, as the price of these used cars goes up, right, the amount of day supply goes up as well. So people are still really hot on affordable cars and they're not so hot on the more expensive vehicles. But something that this report is missing, in my opinion, is the day supply of like the really expensive vehicles. They just go to 35,000 plus, because just like within, again, this is what I can see anecdotally, just like within the new market, once you get above a certain price range, so I'd say in the used car market, probably above like that, again, it depends on the vehicle, but usually above that like $80,000 plus price range, it seems like the supply is still pretty tight, especially for, someone like the uber luxury type vehicles, because people are just so hot in them that they're just picking them up. It doesn't matter what they come from. But regardless, let's now dive into what this really means for the market. So first off, when it comes to pricing, again, at the end of the month, right, wholesale prices started to decline, whereas retail prices increased because, again, retail prices always lag behind wholesale prices with cars. And so I think following the wholesale market is very important because that lets you kind of get a glimpse into the future of the retail market with used cars. And so it's probably going to take a couple weeks, maybe a month, but after that time, we are most likely going to see these retail prices reverse, right? They're going to stop going up and they're going to start going back down to follow the downtrend with wholesale prices. And I'm a firm believer at this point, based on the data that I see, that these declines in wholesale prices are going to continue to happen month over month because new car availability is only improving and incentives on new cars are only increasing. And so between the greater availability with new cars, especially compared to used cars, and then the incentives and also, frankly, the interest rate difference between new and used cars, the new car market is looking a lot more appealing to more and more buyers as time goes on. And so this is going to pull more people out of the used car market, which is naturally going to bring prices down. With that being said, I don't foresee the day supply increasing anytime soon because a lot of these new car purchases that are happening aren't having the trade-ins that we saw before. And this is something that I've been going around and kind of talking to dealers with. I'm like, hey, have you been seeing fewer trade-ins? And a lot of dealers have been saying yes. And the reason why a lot of dealers have been seeing fewer trade-ins is because people are just simply too upside down. Now, I'm not sure where these people are coming up with the money to purchase these cars, right? When they, obviously, like if they're upside down in one car, it's like, well, if you're in a bad situation in that car, how do you have enough money to buy another car? So who knows exactly where the money's coming from? But again, anecdotally, what dealers are telling me is that they're doing a lot more car deals without trade-ins, and since they're getting fewer trade-ins, that means that their used car inventory is continuing to get thinner and thinner, and the only way to get more used cars is to buy them at auction, which again, that's going to naturally kind of push up prices in the wholesale market, but it's not happening right now. So it's a confusing market. It definitely is, but at least it's a confusing market that's not like super volatile with huge price swings anymore, like what we experienced last year and frankly the year prior. It's kind of more stable. And again, that's what March definitely was, because you saw a sales rate that was pretty stable throughout the entire month, and you saw pricing that did fluctuate a little bit, but it didn't fluctuate all that much. And so this kind of leads me into, again, I would say this is a soft conclusion, but it's still somewhat of a conclusion that this is not like the final pricing range of the used car market, but this is, within the range of where the used car market is most likely going to be for the foreseeable future in the short term, the medium term, and frankly, the long term as well. I know that a lot of people are going to comment about the repossession situation, about, lending institutions being tighter with who they're lending to, interest rates continuing to increase. And yes, those are all factors that are going to naturally put downward pressure on the market. But at the same time, the supply of used cars is so small and it's not getting any bigger. And so that's going to keep prices elevated unless we just get like a flood of inventory within the used car market, which gives people more choices, which brings prices down, which then brings more people into the market, right? It's one of those situations where there's probably not going to be a lot of changes, which I know is, probably disconcerting to a lot of people, but I actually see it as, somewhat positive, because when you have a market that's more stable, like what we have been experiencing so far at the beginning of the year, yes, again, prices have slightly increased, but they've increased at a pretty slow, steady rate. It allows you to plan your next car purchase a little bit better, because then you can go, okay, well, since the used car market's not, up and down all over the place like it was over the last couple of years, I can now kind of, assume that this car that I have is going to be worth about this amount of money for the next few months, right? It might go up a little bit, it might go down a little bit, but it's going to be within this range. And so this is probably how much I'm going to get for my car when I trade it in. And then same thing, if you're purchasing a car, you're going to go, okay, well, it's going to be probably within this range for the next few months, maybe for the next year or so. And so it just makes it so that the financial planning associated with buying a car, trading in a car, I think it just makes it a little bit simpler. So let me know what you guys think about these market trends with the used car market, and let me know where you think the used car market is going. Do you think that this is just the calm before the storm? Do you think that prices are going to just absolutely plummet because, demand is going to just completely pull back from the used car market? Or do you think that this, again, is just the new normal? Do you think that this is just what we have to deal with? If you want to buy a used car, you're just going to have to pay more money for it, and same thing with new vehicles as well. I'll see you.